I mean, the Kentucky game Thursday, another game in which Kentucky is sitting in the 4 spot right now alone. So, I mean, they're above you. This is a chance to make up yet another game on the competition. Now, I think mathematically they still have a shot at the 4 spot. I just don't think that's realistic. I think they're fighting for a 6 or a 7 spot. In the SEC. But what are your thoughts here? I mean, as you look at the standings and the schedule, what are you thinking here over the next 2 weeks?
I think that the 4 spot is going to be out of reach at this point. A lot of stuff has to happen. But I think that the 5 spot is very realistic.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, because you're sitting there at 8-6, and you've got a kind of a cluster right there. Oklahoma, Ole Miss, and Alabama all have 5 losses, but now Oklahoma and Ole Miss have 9 wins. They've played the same amount of games, I believe, as Tennessee, but Alabama is 1 game behind. They'll make that up here in the midweek, I believe, or maybe they just haven't played yet this weekend. But overall, I mean, it's going to be tight. Tiebreakers could be a factor in this. Now, if you're Tennessee, you just got the win over Alabama, so that's going to help you. If you have the same record as Alabama, you will get bumped up above them. So, no, we'll definitely we'll see how it all plays out. The SEC this year, both in the men's and the women's, is just insanely competitive. You've got Tennessee's in the 8 spot. You've got 10 lady basketball teams that are 19-9 or better on the season. That's I mean, how many teams do you think in the ladies is going to make the March Madness tournament? Is that what we're looking at?
It's
10?
gonna be 10. Yeah, it'll be 10. At the absolute worst, I'm gonna say 8.
Right on. I think 10. 19-9. They're 6-8 in the SEC. That's not bad. I mean, I like to and I'm talking about Mississippi State and Vanderbilt here. I don't think that's a bad record whatsoever. You got a bunch of teams that are around the 21-6 mark. I mean, Tennessee, Alabama, both 21-6. Ole Miss is 18-8, but they're 9-5 in the SEC. They've got some quality wins. And then Oklahoma is 21-6. Kentucky 21-5, and then the top 3: LSU, Texas, South Carolina, all really, really good. 27-2 LSU is, 26-2 is Texas, and 25-3 is South Carolina. South Carolina. They lost in the midweek. It was ugly, didn't they? Who did they lose to? But they got beaten badly. Do you know who I'm talking?
Oh, that was so that was last week. That was UConn.
Was it
this week?
No. UConn didn't beat South Carolina like that, did they?
Yeah, 87-58 last week.
Really? Oh yeah, they did. That was last week. I'm so sorry for bringing up late news, but wow. That just shows you, though, that Lady Vols can literally beat anybody, right? Because, I mean, we beat UConn. Now, obviously, that was a home game, but the way UConn beat South Carolina, man, that was not even competitive.
But yeah, I mean, looking at the picture here. So Kentucky, you mentioned, they're in sole possession of 4th place right now going into the conference tournament. Their last 2 games of the season are against Tennessee and South Carolina. That is a very real possibility of going 0-2, in which, as long as Tennessee beats Kentucky and Georgia, you've made up the 2 games right there, and you've got a tie with Kentucky at that point, in which you would hold the tiebreaker. Now, I mentioned last week Oklahoma, who is ahead of Tennessee by a full game right now, and would hold the tiebreaker over Tennessee. They've got Florida and Alabama. I'm going to say that Florida game will probably be a win. And even if they lose to Alabama, I think that would put Oklahoma.
So Oklahoma's going to hold the 4 spot then.
I think Oklahoma
if that's
will
how it plays out.
Yeah.
That's okay.
But then Ole Miss, who is ahead of Tennessee by a game right now, they finish off with South Carolina and LSU. That's probably going to be 0-2 right there, in which you would jump Ole Miss at that point. You also have the tiebreaker over Ole Miss if it came down to that. And then, Alabama, you do hold the tiebreaker over them, and Alabama's last 2 games of the season. I'm sorry, 3 games, as they're playing Auburn right now, and they've got LSU and Oklahoma to finish off the season. So, a very real possibility that Tennessee gets the 5 seed. It's gonna take Oklahoma going 0-2 at the end of the season to be able to get that 4 seed. and you have to win your last 2 games.
Yeah, right on. What did y'all think about the refs in the first quarter of this game? It was like 12-2 fouls against us. I try not to care about refs. I mean, if I'm being honest with you, and no matter what game I'm watching, like even in the men's, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, as unfair as it kind of seems and whatnot, like at the end of the day, there's just absolutely nothing you can do about it. So it makes no sense for me to make it a talking point in any of the. I don't know, Michael. What did you think about the refs? Did you think it was severely unfair or uncalled for? Like what are
I
your
mean,
thoughts?
that was one of those points. I didn't get to watch any of the first quarter. I
I
watched
got you.
most of the second quarter, so I didn't really get to pay attention to that. I did see the foul shot discrepancy in the
That
second
yeah, it
quarter.
was pretty absurd, but yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, you're gonna get decent refs at times. You're gonna get some terrible refs at times, but ultimately, you just got to play the game.
Yep.
You can only play and do what you can control out there.
Here's what I'll say about it, though. I mean, Matt comes back in. We appreciate you watching, Matt. We really do. Kentucky is big. Will be a tough one. It will be a tough one. Kentucky's a solid group. What I will say though is like I would like to see our ladies do a little bit better about controlling our emotions about the refs. Like if clearly they're calling against you, and even if it's a super unfair, like just drop it. Don't let it affect how you're playing. I don't want to see you sitting there clapping at the refs or getting a technical or anything, trying to argue back and forth. Like there's no room for that. Like shrug your shoulders, whatever, and then put your head down and get back to the game. Like there's no reason to sit there and cry about it. Really, like in my opinion, that's just I think in any sport that doesn't necessarily, unless you're Patrick Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers, I don't think that really gives you any benefit to sit there and argue with the referees about some calls that are being made.
Well, don't forget about LeBron James. He's the king of complaining to the
I just
refs.
don't watch NBA, man. I'm sorry. Other than Dalton Connect, other than
Yeah.
Dalton Connect. But yeah, man, it just I like to see the ladies. I do feel like I've seen the ladies kind of sit there and that you can see them wearing their emotions about the calls and some of the games that I went in person to watch. I wish we kind of lowered that down a little bit. And I think Kim Caldwell's doing a great job of that.
Yep,
So
I completely agree with you. But any last thoughts on the Lady Vols before we move ahead to the men's?
no, man, went to it. Yeah,
Yep,
went
2-0
2 and
this
0 this
week.
week. Great week. Let's finish the season strong. I love to see us finish out strong. If we win out, I am totally okay with because I mean I don't think we're winning the SEC tournament, but I'd like for us to win out and then maybe drop one in the second game of the SEC tournament or third, whatever. But
Well,
that way,
what I will say, which we discussed at the beginning of the season, I don't want to be any team facing Tennessee on a short turnaround like that. I
yeah,
mean, you said it earlier. Tennessee is a tournament team, the way that they're built.
yeah,
Like having
and
a
the depth
rotation that they
and
do.
what,
Yeah.
yeah, dude, that's what I'm saying. Like they're not gonna get wore out whatsoever. But I'm taking the orange glasses off being a realist. I don't think we're winning the SEC tournament. So
I don't disagree.
I'm already preparing to lose, in a couple weeks. So I'd like to finish this season out strong. I like, because it's all about getting hot at the right moment. But I do think it's good to lose right before the big tournament because then you still have that taste in your mouth. Like you know what it's like to lose at that point. Summit said it best. I hate losing more than I like winning, and so it's one of those things where I think you utilize the final week of the season here, final 2 weeks of the season, ended on a high note, go into the tournament, maybe win a game or two, and then get your head right, get yourself a week's rest before you get in the big dance.
Yep, absolutely, man.
The 3 seed is still open, by the way, for the Lady Vols.
Oh yeah, for the national tournament, that's
The three
absolutely
seed,
correct. Yes.
especially if you win out, is 100. I don't see how it's debatable. I mean, I would almost consider a 2 seed at that point, but yeah, lower expect. I think a 3 seed is 100% still on the table. So
Yeah, I think a 2 seed is just a little bit out of reach, but a 3 seed, I think to get a 2 seed, you have to win out and you've got to win the conference tournament. But
or get
I
to the
think,
championship game. Yeah,
yeah, I think a 3 seed that's what your goals should be right now. I think you've got a 4 seed locked up as long as you just absolutely don't crap the bed. But a 3 seed, I think that is very attainable at this point.
right on.